What's going on? 5 or 6 years ago, I was a contractor, didn't know anything about marketing, was just trying to figure out this lead generation stuff. And when I look back at what I knew then and what I was doing then, there's a lot of things I wish I would have known. And one of the things I would have liked to have is a list of the various types of methods for getting new customers, offline, online, whatever. I would have just liked to have a picture of the landscape, so I would have been better able to decide where to start. And being where I'm at now, having done all this stuff for years, having worked with companies all over the country for years, I've seen it all, I've done it all, and I know what works and I know what doesn't work. And so I put together an article and a video that will give you or teach you about the 9 main methods for lead generation for landscapers. So these types of lead generation can work, for almost any local service business, but I chose landscapers because 3 of our most recent clients happen to be landscapers, and they've got tremendous results using some of these methods. So there's a pretty long article about this. I'm going to go through it with you and just kind of give you my thoughts on each method, and then you can read through the article and see actually how I grade everything and some more details. The purpose of this video is just to say some things that I might not have written in the article and just give you some candid thoughts and information about this stuff. So let's dig in. All right, so here we are on my website. It's adaptdigitalsolutions.com, and there will be a link to this blog post in the description of this video. So if you want to go check it out yourself, feel free to do that. So I'm just going to breeze through this real quick, define some things, give you some thoughts, and hopefully give you the information that you're looking for. So first of all, this is about lead generation for landscapers. So what is a lead exactly? Now, in the process of making a sale, somebody's going to contact you, or you're going to somehow start a conversation with somebody, about what they want, so you can figure out what they want and give them what they want. And anything that happens before that conversation is in the realm of marketing. And anybody that comes to you that you haven't talked to yet, or you haven't confirmed that they are actually interested in hiring you, that would be a lead. So anytime I mention a lead, I'm either talking about someone that's calling you in regards to hiring you for your services, or the contact information of somebody that is interested. And for each one of these 9 categories of lead generation, I'm going to grade them on 5 different qualities. The first one is volume. That's just, in my experience, like how many leads you can expect to get. Lead quality is the likelihood of that lead actually turning into a sale. Control is your ability to control the process. So as you'll see as I go through, these things will make more sense, but control as a business owner or a manager is extremely important. Scalability is, let's say that something works. Scalability refers to your ability to, expand on that. And then cost and profitability, whatever the upfront cost is for something, and then how much you can expect to make from it. And a good frame of reference for this is, if I asked you if you want to give me $10, I'll give you $100. Would you do that? And of course, if you can do math, the answer is absolutely yes. Well, then if I offered to give you $1,000, if you gave me 100, of course you'd say yes. Well, what if you gave me 1,000 and I gave you 10,000? Of course. Well, what if you gave me 100,000 and I gave you 1,000,000? Absolutely, right? And so when you're thinking about investing in marketing or lead generation, this is how you have to look at it. How much money do you expect to make from this? And then when you do something, how much money do you actually make from it? And you need to track all of these things because marketing can get pretty expensive, and you don't want to just be throwing money away. So if you put $1,000 into something, you want to know how you're going to measure the results and then actually measure those. So you can come back later and say, okay, I put 1,000 in and I made 5,000 out. We're good to go. Or I put 1,000 in and I only made 500 back. in that case, you probably wouldn't want to do that for very long, or you're going to go out of business. All right, so let's dive right into the actual channels. So the first, I'm gonna organize these in a way that's like, if you were starting a business today, this is kind of the process that I would go through. If I was, just starting out as a landscaper, probably didn't have a very large marketing budget, this is what I would do. So the first thing I would do is talk to my personal network and just let everybody that I know what kind of services I offer and how they can inquire about those services. And also let them know, hey, if you know anybody that needs their lawn mowed, or they need any kind of landscaping services, pavers, trees, whatever, put them in touch with me. And you might not be able to get a ton of leads this way, but if you're just starting out, you start out by getting one customer. If you can get one customer, then the next one will be even easier. So if you can get a handful of customers just through the people then you're off to a great start. But you're not going to be able to get that many. Once you tap out your personal network, then you're pretty much done with that. The lead quality, however, will be very high, because people that know you are, obviously you're only going to hit up people that like you, most likely. And if they happen to need what you're selling, then they're definitely going to go with you. Control, I give it an 8 out of 10, because you definitely have direct control over this. You can control who you reach out to. Scalability, I only give it a 1 out of 10, because like I said with volume, once you use up your network, you're pretty much done with that. But it's free to do, so it gets a 10 out of 10 on cost and profitability, because you really probably don't have to spend very much money on this, if any at all, and so it's going to be all profit. So that's where I would start out, is just going through everybody I know, posting on Facebook so all my friends could see it, talking to family members, close friends, asking for referrals, all those kind of things. I might even go to some different people I know that own houses or businesses that might need the services, just go to them and ask. And that brings me to my next one, which is going door to door. So most people don't want to go door to door, and I don't blame them. But if I was bootstrapping a business and I needed some landscaping clients right away and I didn't have a ton of money to invest in this, I would just go door to door. I could cover 100 houses in a day, and I'd be very surprised if someone does that, talks to 100 people a day, and can't make $1,000. I happen to know somebody who recently just did this. He was in gutter cleaning, so it's slightly different, but not that different. He just went door to door and he made $1,000 in one day. He actually recorded it and made a YouTube video about it. So if I get the link to that, I'll definitely put that in the description of this video. Should be pretty entertaining. Supposedly he got either picked up or dropped off in a helicopter. Yeah, this guy's crazy. So the volume, I give it a 1 out of 10, because you're not going to be able to go to that many houses, but the lead quality will be high, because if you're talking to people directly, you got a smile on your face, you come off as professional, then if they need your services, they're going to hire you, because you're saving them the trouble of having to find somebody to do this. Hey, someone just showed up and they'll take care of what I need. So, lead quality is going to be pretty high. Control is definitely a 10 out of 10, because you directly control this. You can go to as many houses as you want. You can go wherever you want. You can talk to people that obviously need your services, find some lawns that desperately need mowing, or some shrubs that need trimming, whatever. You have full control over this. Scalability, I give it a 3, because maybe you can only hit a certain amount of houses a day, but if this works and you're able to make this profitable, then you can certainly hire more people, and all of them can go door to door and find some projects to work on. And then cost and profitability, this isn't very expensive. You get some business cards, get a t-shirt made, and the gas to get to the neighborhood, and you're set. It's very cheap, and if you do get jobs this way, they're going to be extremely profitable. So one last thought on this one is, let's say you have a job and you finish early, you don't have any other work to do. You might as well just go around that neighborhood and ring a few doorbells, talk to a few people, give them some business cards, Let them know who you are. You don't have to go in and try to sell them super hard. You just go in and introduce yourself, let them know that what kind of services you offer, and that if they need those kind of services, that they can call you or hire you right now to do it. And if you really are hard up for work, give them a deal they can't refuse. Making an extra $50 in a day, might be worth the time and effort that it takes, even if it's not as much money as you would want to be making. So personal network and going door to door, fantastic places to start. And even if you're a seasoned landscaper, you've been doing this for years, if you need work, this is probably the fastest way to get it. Okay, the third method is word of mouth. So this is when people customers, happy customers, they refer you more work, they tell their friends and family about you. This is one of the most common ways. If you go talk to 50 landscapers, most of them are going to say, oh yeah, I get most of my jobs from word of mouth. And that's a good sign. If you're getting word of mouth jobs, then that means that you're doing a good job. You're giving people a good experience. You're not charging too much money. Things are working well. If you're not getting any referrals, you should try to figure out why. Maybe one of those things is off, or maybe you just need to ask for them. It's totally okay when someone's a happy customer that you just finished giving them a great experience. Ask them for a review, ask them for referrals. What's the worst that can happen? So on this one, volume wise, I give it a 3. Look, if you have 1,000 happy customers, you might get enough word of mouth customers to stay busy. If you have 10,000 customers, you might get way more than you can possibly handle. But it's gonna come and go. And skipping to control, I give it a 3 out of 10 because you really don't have a lot of control over this. You can keep in touch with people, call them, email them, send them mail, whatever, asking for referrals. So that gives you some element of control here. But at the end of the day, you're at the mercy of these people, whether or not they want to refer you and when they want to refer you. My family's remodeling company, before 2008, we relied almost completely off referrals, either repeat business or referrals. That's where we got all of our projects. And when the economy, the housing market crashed in 2008, everything dried up. Nobody was referring anybody, and we were dead slow. And that was when it became apparent to me that, okay, relying fully on something I can't control isn't a great way to run a business. Lead quality wise though, it gets a 9 out of 10 because look, referrals are definitely the best, easiest customers to close deals with. If someone has a good experience and they tell a family member about it, there's already a lot of trust right there, and all you have to do is not mess it up. Scalability, I give it a 5 out of 10 because the more clients you have, the more you ask for referrals, the more you're gonna get. And so the bigger your company gets, the more customers you have. This can actually become a pretty big thing, but it gets a 5 because it's not going to grow past that very easily. You're not going to get referrals from people that have never worked from you or don't know who you are. But cost and profitability, you usually don't have to pay anything for these. You're already working with people. It doesn't take that much extra effort to ensure they have a great experience and then ask them for a referral when you leave. So definitely, if you're not getting many referrals, I would look into that because that's kind of a red flag. You definitely want to be getting at least some. Okay, so those are the 3 kind of general ways that people get referrals just offline, through people they know and whatnot. But now we'll talk about online methods. And this is what everybody wants to know, right? Because the internet's huge, more people than ever are using Google, and everybody wants to get online and they think that that's the holy grail. And while it is a lot more scalable, it can be easier to do a lot of times, it's also a lot more competitive. So if you're not taking advantage of the first 3, then, and another thing to think about is, if you're going to meet people in person, like ringing doorbells and stuff, if you can't close deals in person with people that need your stuff, it's going to be really hard to do it with people online. People online are a little bit more finicky. They don't already trust you a whole lot. So, just keep that in mind. You want to be able to close deals in person before you move too far into the marketing realm. Okay, so let's start with your website. So I call it a portfolio website because a website can be tons of things. It could be e-commerce, it could be a blog, it could be all sorts of stuff. But a portfolio website is simply a website that shows who you are, what you do, where you do it, shows examples of your work, shows some testimonials of people, lets people know what the process is if they want to hire you, and then makes it really easy for people to get a hold of you. If you have a website that does all these things really well, then that's all you need to get started. And I put a lot of information in here. I'm not going to go through all of it, but let's just talk about the grades. So volume wise, I give it a 7 out of 10 because some of the websites of my clients, including my family's remodeling company, we get pretty good volume from our sites and we don't have to do anything for it. It's already established. People are already finding it on Google. We get a good amount of calls from that. And some of my customers get hundreds of calls a month just through their website. And people are finding their website through all sorts of different means, but they come through there to learn about the company, to figure out what to do to get what they need and to get a hold of them. Lead quality, I give it a 9. And that's for landscapers, because if somebody goes through your site, they read your reviews, they look at your work, they read about you and learn about who you are, they've already done all the vetting. By the time they're calling you, they're just looking to find out how much it's going to cost and make a deal. So the quality of leads that I see coming through websites is extremely high in relation to other sources that I'll get to in a little bit. Control, I give it an 8 out of 10 because you control everything that's on your site. You control how it looks, what kind of information's there, how you present that information. You can say anything you want on your website. You literally own it, and you're in full control over what it is. You can't say the same thing about other things on the internet like Facebook and Google listings and Home Advisor listings and all these things. In those situations, those companies control what kind of information you can share and then how it's presented to people. And they can change that at any time. So the control over there is a lot less. But as far as your website goes, you control all of that. And that really becomes central because when it comes to like search engines like Google and even people, everybody looks to your website to learn about you and to figure out what you do, where you do it, and all that stuff. So it's super important that you have one, that it looks professional, and that it covers all this information that people and search engines are looking for, or it's going to put you at a disadvantage to your competitors. Scalability, I give it a 7 out of 10 because once your website's online, it can be seen by anybody with a computer or a smartphone. But as far as helping people find it, you're either going to have to run ads or you're going to have to make sure that search engines will show you high enough in the search that people will actually find it. There's some statistic that it's something like 90 or 99 or something, 90+% of websites never get found by anybody. And that's just because there's loads of them and only the top few get any attention. Cost and profitability, it's not super cheap to get a website. To get a good website that's going to actually be found by people, you're going to be spending at least $5,000. And I think about it as like a tool. It's like a vehicle or a lawnmower or, any kind of tool that's going to make you money in the long run. A website's the same. It even takes maintenance. You can't just let it sit there. Something will break, some update will mess something up, and it will become unworkable. But the profitability is huge. Like just at our construction company alone, our $5,000 website has brought in millions of dollars worth of work over the years. And it's such an integral part of a business these days that it just becomes, like part of your overhead expenses. All right, next we'll move on to Google Maps. So Google Maps has come along about 15 years ago or so. And since I think it was 2015, only the top 3 businesses listed on Google Maps actually show up in the search. And let's just take a look at that really quick. So I can demonstrate like what I mean by this. Okay, so if I type in remodeling contractor in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, probably first we'll see ads. So these top 4 things are ads. All these companies are paying for this. And all 4 of these companies are lead reselling companies, by the way. I'm going to talk about them soon. Here's Angie's List, House, Home Advisor. This one's called Powell & Sons. They like to pretend that they're an actual contractor, but they're not. They just get leads and sell them to people. But this box here with the map above it, this is Google Maps. And notice how it shows up right below the ads here. So people are spending a lot of money for these ads, like, up to $180 per click. Like if I click on this ad right now, Home Advisor is probably going to spend $30. But companies don't pay anything to show up in this box, and it's showing up right at the top of the search page. So this is the first thing people see after the ads, and these are the first 3 actual remodeling companies that searchers are going to see. And here's my company right here. So by showing up in this box, we get tons of phone calls. A lot of people click on the website link, they go visit our website, and it's just all around probably the most powerful online marketing method for you as a landscaper or any kind of local contracting business. And you can see right below Google Maps is the organic search, is what it's called. Like anything that's not ads is considered organic. Ads would be considered paid. Those are like the 2 categories of showing up on Google. So in organic search, you've got maps, and then you've got all the websites. And you can see our websites right up here at the top. So we're showing up 2 times right here at the top of the search. That's why we get so many calls. That's why this website is so profitable. Okay, so now that I explained that, let's talk about Google Maps. So volume-wise, I give it a 7 out of 10 because most of my clients get the majority of their phone calls from Google Maps because people either heard of them before, so they type in their name. Let's see, if I type in the name of our company, Kyle Construction, notice how it pops, like our listings pop right up here at the top. We've got 2 of them. And so even if people are referred to us and they hear about us, when they type us into the internet, which is what they always do, they're going to see Google Maps first. They're going to click on this. They're going to read some of our reviews, probably all of our reviews, because we only have 12 of them. They're going to look through our pictures, and then they're going to click through to our website, and they're going to read more about us. And they're looking for red flags. They're looking at, okay, I've read a bunch of good reviews. Why wouldn't I hire this company? And they don't find any, and that's why we get so many calls. The website's clean, it's orderly, and all that kind of stuff. So Google Maps, you can get quite a bit of volume, but you're limited to people in your immediate area. I'm about 30 minutes from Spokane, Washington, which is a pretty big city. There's no way in hell my listing is going to show up in Spokane because there's plenty of remodeling contractors over there. And Google's going to look at them as a lot more relevant for people searching over there because Google's trying to show you people or businesses that are close to you with Google Maps. So while you can get a lot of volume through it, you're still limited by, your location. But I rank it a 7 and not a 5 because you can get multiple locations. And I'll get to that in a second with scalability. Or actually, we can talk about it right now. So I give it an 8 out of 10 for scalability because you can have as many listings as you want. You just have to have an address that you can receive mail at. You can't use a PO box. That's one of the rules. So it is quite scalable if you do it right. The lead quality, 8 out of 10, pretty high because people are reading your reviews. They're looking at your pictures. And there's also, people assume that whatever they find at the top of the Google search is the best result. Like that's why everybody uses Google, is because Google is very good at giving people the best search results. And so they just assume, if it's at the top of Google, that's going to be the best option. And so by showing up here at the top of the page, 2 places, people are just automatically like, these must be a pretty good option. Let's check them out first. And that's why it's so valuable to show up on top of Google. And that's why so many landscapers are trying to start there. They're like, if I can just show up on top of Google, I'll get tons of phone calls. And that's absolutely true. Control wise, I give it a 6 out of 10. I don't rate it lower because you do get to control everything that is on this listing. You know, you put in, you set your name to whatever you want. You can't control the reviews, like other people are going to write those, but you can control who you ask to leave a review. You can control a lot of the info, but I don't rate it higher because you can't control the format or what information goes in here. So, you know, you're limited to what Google's going to show you, and then Google can change it at any time and decide not to show Google Maps at the top of the screen anymore, or to only show one picture, or to show, they used to show 7 businesses up here, but now it's only 3. So that stuff's subject to change anytime, and we have no control over that. So that's why it gets a 6. And then cost and profitability, definitely a 10 out of 10. You can start your listing for free. You go to google.com/business. You have to be logged into your Google account. Before you do that, you know, go to Google and type in the name of your company and look to see if there's a listing already. If you find one, click on it, and then there's going to be this little link right here that says own this business ? You can click on that and fill out the information. They'll send you a postcard to confirm that you're actually at that location, and then you'll be able to control that listing. So if there's already a listing up, you definitely want to use that and not create another one, especially if you have reviews and stuff. Maybe if you have a bunch of really bad reviews, then you would want to create another one and let that one go away. Either way, it's free to get. I will say that your website dictates how well this is going to show up. So the reason that our listing shows up here at the top of Google search is because the website is really good. And, you know, you might think really good is subjective, but from my opinion, really good means it makes sure that it shows up at the top on Google Maps and in the organic search, which is this right here. And when people find it, they become leads and then customers. So all those things are happening. So that's how I grade it as really good. But if your website's not set up properly, it's going to be more difficult to show up here in Google Maps. It doesn't mean that you won't. I know somebody who started a Google listing, didn't even have a website, and he gets phone calls all the time from his listing. And that's just because if somebody searches 3 houses down from you or whatever, like within a block of your location, like they're most likely going to see you first, because proximity, like how close someone is to your location, is the main factor for Google Maps. So if you don't have one already, 100% go get one right now and start getting reviews and posting pictures on there, because, you know, over the years, this listing alone has brought in millions of dollars worth of leads for us, and it brings in phone calls and great leads every single day. So there's just no reason not to have it. 10 out of 10 for sure. All right, next up is Google Ads. Okay, so on the search I just showed you, Google Ads is up here at the top. So I already told you that it could be pretty expensive, and that's one of the major downsides. And you're competing with all of these big ass corporations they can afford to spend a lot on these clicks because they're just turning around and selling these leads to 6 other contractors. So they can just take their costs, mark it up, sell them, and make a profit on it. And this drives the prices up higher and higher. So Google Maps at this point in its lifespan is extremely expensive, but it's still profitable, or Google wouldn't be making trillions of dollars from it. And Google Ads used to be called AdWords, so don't be confused about that. And essentially, you're paying Google to show up here at the top of search, because being at the top of search, you get seen first, you get the most attention. I will say there's like 40% or something of people will just skip the ads and go straight down to Google Maps and all the websites down here. I'm one of those people. I see the word ad and I'm like, nah, I don't want to look at an ad. And a lot of people are like that. I'll start off with the lead quality. I give it a 5 out of 10. There's just something about it. Like if somebody finds you down here and they read your reviews and they look through your website and they find you on their own, they feel like they discovered you on their own, they're going to be really sold on you. The lead quality is going to be super high. But when you assert yourself into somebody's search engine and and they go through and they fill out the lead form or whatever, typically the lead quality is at least half as good, 50% as good. It's just the way it is. You're gonna need a lot more leads to get a sale when you're using advertisements than you will leads from these two sources, Google Maps and your website. So that's just something to keep in mind. But it is profitable because otherwise Google wouldn't be making trillions of dollars from this. And our clients that continue to use Google Ads, they're able to make a profit on it. But I can see directly like the cost per sale from Google Ads is a lot higher than these other channels. Volume though, I give it a 9 out of 10 because you can literally show up for whatever you want. You choose the keywords. So all of these people are bidding on the word remodeling, or maybe it's remodeling contractor. So anybody that types in these words or any variation is gonna see these ads. And they can run this thing international if they want. Everyone in the world who types in remodeling, you can show an ad to them and you'd be spending probably billions of dollars. So the volume can be pretty high if you want it to. Control, I give it a 9 out of 10 because you can control what it shows for, what keywords, what you say, all that stuff. But it's not a 10 out of 10 because you still have to abide by Google's terms of service and their policies. And Google can ban your account. They can remove your ads. They can make it really difficult to post ads for certain things. So, maybe I would even rank it a little lower on control, but I don't. And part of that's because of speed. This can work very quickly. If you build a website today and you start a Google listing today, it could be 6 months before you start getting a good amount of phone calls. And that's just because when it comes to organic search results like Google Maps and websites, Google has pretty much, it's like a policy. They don't say this overtly, but they will hold you back for 6 months because they can't just let anybody create a website today and show up on top of Google search tomorrow. You would be way more likely to have scammers or to have businesses that weren't going to be around long enough to serve anybody. It would cloud up the search results and the quality would be very low. So Google's very careful about who it shows in the search results. And that's why there's a whole industry called search engine optimization, which is all about making your website and your Google listing and things like that perfectly set up so that they are most likely to show up here at the top. And that's one of the services we provide at ADS. And that's the main service we provide is make your website look professional, show all the correct info, and then make sure that it will show up here at the top so that people will find it and give you a call or whatever. But with Google Ads, you could build a website in an hour, even if it was a blank page, it doesn't matter. You can get your ads running, and within a couple hours, you could be getting traffic to it. You can be getting visitors to your web page. But if it's a blank page or if it's really shitty looking, nobody's going to call you anyways. But the speed factor makes the control scale go up because you can get this thing going in a day. Like I could, at this point, knowing what I know now, I could build a landing page, get ads going, and probably be getting leads in the same day. So it's possible to do that if you're willing to spend the money and you know what you're doing. Let's see, scalability, definitely a 10 out of 10 because like I said, you can show this to everyone on the planet if you want to. You get to pick your locations, all that kind of stuff. Cost and profitability is a 5 out of 10. It's super expensive. I've seen painters in Portland, Oregon paying $180 per click. Per click means if I click on this right now, they're paying Google something. Like right now, if I click on this Home Advisor, we'll probably pay Google like 20 or 30 bucks. But I've seen painters in Portland, Oregon spending $180 per click. I'm currently running ads in Portland and we're paying about $25 per click for painting ads. So they're super expensive. And because the lead quality is so low, the profitability is much lower. We're still able to turn a profit on these, but if you think about it, if you need 3 times as many leads to get a sale as you do from other channels, and it takes 5 clicks to get 1 lead, now you're buying 15 clicks to get a lead or to get a sale. And if you're spending, $20 for these clicks, then now you're spending what is that, $300 for a sale or something like that. Anyways, it can get very expensive very quickly. So if you're going to use Google Ads, it's super important that you track all this stuff very closely. You track your spending, you call people right away, and you do everything you can to get as many sales out of this as you can, because you're going to need to make up for these costs. All right, next, after Google Ads, let's talk about buying leads from lead resellers like HomeAdvisor, Angie's List, House, Porch, Yelp, Thumbtack, all those different kinds. And remember, up here at the Google Ads, the AdWords, all of these companies up here are lead resellers. And 3 of them are ones I just mentioned. Powell & Sons, that's kind of like a shadow one. They pretend that they're a company, but they're not really. They just sell leads. And let's look at this. So let's just pretend I was a homeowner and I Googled remodeling contractor quarterly in Idaho. I'm expecting to see some contractors. I want to look at some sites. I want to read some reviews. Show me that. And I see HomeAdvisor right there at the top. And I think, oh, I've seen commercials for them. Like, let's click on them. There's probably tons of contractors to look through. And I click on that and, but it's not showing me anything. It's just asking me for my zip code. So I put in my zip code. What is it? And now it wants to know about what job. Well, why not? I'll just give them the info. And so it's going to ask me a ton of questions, and eventually it's going to ask me for my phone number, email, address, and all that stuff. And then once I'm done filling out this form, then it's going to show me a list of contractors. But as soon as I'm done filling out the form, my contact information is being sold to 6 contractors at the same time. And that is why the lead quality from HomeAdvisor is very low, because these aren't necessarily people who are ready to talk to anybody. They're just doing a search online. Who knows? Maybe they're just dreaming about a remodel and they're looking at contractors. It's hard to say, but that's why the lead quality for these is so low. So we'll start at lead quality, 2 out of 10. I have a few clients that use HomeAdvisor a lot. They buy hundreds of leads a month. And on average, they say that 1 out of 7 of these leads actually answers the phone. And so that's pretty bad. If you're spending $20-$30 per lead and you're only talking to 1 out of 7 of them and it takes 3 leads, now you're going through 21 leads to get a sale and you're spending hundreds of dollars. So the lead quality is super low, and that's, I think, mainly because of what I just showed you. You click on this expecting one thing, and then you got to put in your contact information. Nowhere on that page did it say, once you fill this out, we're going to sell your information to people. They never say that, so people don't know about it, and it just creates this huge mess. So I'm not a huge fan of these companies. The only reason why they have a business is because they plug up all the Google ads, they buy all the Google ads, and then they cloud up the rest of the search page. Look at this: House, Better Business Bureaus twice, Yelp, Angie's List, Porch, Thumbtack, Build, Zoom. All of those are lead resellers. The only companies on here that are actually real are my company and this other one at the bottom, Rosenberger Construction. The rest of these, if anybody clicks on these companies are just trying to collect their contact information and sell it to people. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of these companies, because the only reason they stay in business is because they've monopolized the first page of Google. And since 95% of people use Google to find what they're looking for, they're just plugging it all up. And it's become our mission at ADS to help actual contractors like you, hopefully, figure out how to get their business to show up here without having to buy leads from these. And it's okay to buy leads, but it shouldn't be your main source of revenue, and it shouldn't be your first choice. If you don't have a Google Maps and you don't have a website, you should prioritize getting those, because you could spend $1 million on HomeAdvisor and you can get 100 reviews on there and all this stuff, but you have nothing to show for it. You don't own these assets at all. If you stop paying HomeAdvisor, your listing's not going to be shown to anybody anymore. You're not going to get any leads, and all those reviews will go away, and all that money will just be gone. But if you invest money on your Google listing and your website, you own that stuff. You don't have to continue paying thousands of dollars to maintain it. It's very cheap to maintain, and so that's what I think. Volume wise, 9 out of 10, because you can get a lot of leads from this. The customers I have that use HomeAdvisor successfully, they have a sales team, so their sales team calls people right away, super important. And they also cover a really wide area. And so HomeAdvisor is really good if you cover a huge area and you want to get leads in all these little different tiny cities. That's the quickest way to do it is probably through HomeAdvisor or one of these other companies. Let's see, Control, 3 out of 10. I just mentioned this, like you can spend a bunch of money with them. You can put information and pictures on your listing. You can get people to leave reviews on your listing, but you don't control that listing. You don't own it. So if you stop paying them, they'll take it down. You have no say over what reviews are shown to people. If someone leaves a fake review that's really bad, HomeAdvisor, they're at their liberty to change that or not. Scalability, I give it an 8 out of 10 because in a lot of places, if you want to spend more money, you can get more leads. And you'll have to because you need a lot more leads to make a sale. But, if you've got a large sales team and you already have leads coming through your website and Google and you're doing Google ads, this can be a way to get higher volume, to keep those salespeople busy and to keep new jobs coming in. So there's definitely a time and place for these. It just kind of pisses me off that they hog the whole front page of Google and they crowd out all the actual companies that have websites, that invested in websites. They never get seen because all of these companies are just investing millions of dollars to be seen here instead. I think that sucks. Cost and profitability, it can be pretty expensive. That's one of the major complaints. And like I just talked to somebody recently who was spending like $1,800 a month on this, and after 4 months he ran the numbers and discovered that he didn't even make his money back, and he had been working the whole time. So it's tough to make a profit on this for smaller contractors. And if you're gonna buy leads, just pay really close attention to the numbers so that you could figure out if it's working or not before you go bankrupt. I've gotten hundreds of calls from people over the years because I write articles about these guys. I've gotten hundreds of calls from people that are trying to sue HomeAdvisor, Angie's List, because they've spent thousands of dollars, they got nothing for it. Now they have no money, they're in tons of debt because they use their credit cards, and they just got themselves in a deep hole. And while part of that's their own fault, HomeAdvisor calls people all the time, including me. They call me all the time. They pretend to be actual homeowners, and they try to sell me this dream of, oh, just sign up with us and you'll be super successful. But it doesn't work out like that for most people. So if you're going to use them, be super careful. That's all I can say. Next up is content marketing. So this is like YouTube, blog articles, Instagram, any kind of content. So in general, I don't think this is, if you're into making content, if you like doing Instagram or if you like making YouTube videos and that kind of stuff, by all means do it. Like I'm making a YouTube video right now. I enjoy this and it does bring in customers. A lot of people that watch these videos end up calling me and we end up making deals. So it will work. For a local landscaper, I would say probably make content that's related to your area, because if you have people seeing your stuff across the country, then they're obviously not going to hire you. But if you make super relevant content to your local area, it's possible to get some leads through it that way. And if you do, the lead quality is probably going to be pretty high because people like your content. They maybe have been following you for a while, and when they need your kind of service, then they're going to call you, and that could work out pretty good. Control, 9 out of 10, because you can you control what you say and what you put out there. So volume, 1 out of 10. I haven't seen any landscapers that make a lot of content and get a ton of business from it. Doesn't mean they're not out there. If you are one of them or you know somebody, please point them out to me. I would love to change this. I've just worked with a lot of landscapers and I don't know anybody that gets a ton of sales from content marketing. Scalability though, I give it an 8 out of 10. That might be a little high, but once your online things are scalable, If you post a video on YouTube, it could be seen by millions of people. So it could be quite scalable. Cost and profitability, 7 out of 10. That just depends. It could be a 2 out of 10 if you need to buy a bunch of camera equipment and spend a bunch of money hiring someone to edit your videos, or it could be very expensive, but it could also be really cheap. If you're doing Instagram and you're just taking photos of your crew or your awesome work and whatnot, that could be pretty cheap. That could be basically free because everybody has one of these phones and anybody can take pictures with their 3 cameras like me. And so it could be profitable if done right. So please, if you know anybody, throw them in the comments or something. I'd love to check them out. Okay, the last one is offline marketing. So this is like t-shirts, like NL Kyle Construction. Now I'm wearing the shirt right now. We've got our logo on the back. I wear this all over the place. I also have hats. I have business cards. We have road signs where we're working at a house. We'll put the sign, or yard sign, we'll put the sign right by the road so everyone that drives by sees it. We have wraps on our trucks. We've got, all these things that if you're just getting started, you don't have this stuff yet, but you should focus on getting this stuff going, because your crew, when they go places and they're working, when you got 8 guys working and they're all wearing the same shirts and the same hats, it makes you look really professional, and it's like free advertising. Your guys are driving their trucks around all over the place all the time. You should have your signs on there, and one thing to think about when it comes to crews and stuff is remind your crews constantly that they're advertising for you. So you don't want them doing stupid stuff. You don't want them driving like assholes. You want them representing your company professionally, and then people will see that. They'll pick up on it. They'll see your phone number in different places, or they'll see your website or whatever, and that can bring in a good amount of work. And so volume wise, I give it a 7 out of 10 because if you got a few crews out there, they could be seen by thousands of people a day. Lead quality, if somebody sees your crew kicking butt, or they see something they like about you and they call you after that, it's pretty good. That's a pretty warm lead. They're pretty likely to turn into a sale. Control, 7 out of 10. You can control what you do. You can control what your signs look like. You can control your shirts, your hats, your yard signs, where you put them, all that kind of stuff. I don't give it a 10 because you don't control who sees it, or you don't control your crews all the time. So maybe you'll get some negative publicity, but that's just bound to happen. Scalability, I give it a 6 because it's not going to be seen by as many people as probably on the internet. But it can still be seen by a lot of people. The more crews you have out there, the more shirts people are wearing, the more yard signs, the more trucks, the more people are going to see it. So that's why this should just become like an established part of your business, because it not only makes your customers feel better when everything's branded and looks super professional, but it's going to send a signal out to everybody else that, hey, this is a professional company. I see their trucks all over the place. Like, they must be a good company. Cost and profitability, definitely an 8. It's not very expensive to do this stuff. Truck wraps can be a couple $1,000s, t-shirts and stuff. I think they're like 15, 20 bucks a piece. And it should just become part of your thing, your overhead. You buy a certain amount of shirts, whatever, every year, and everybody's wearing them, and it's 100% going to come back and pay for itself. So profitability is definitely high on that. And so those are the 9 main, ways of generating leads for landscapers. And there's surely some more, but these are definitely the major ones. If you can lock down 2 or 3 of these methods, and maybe not all at the same time, but you start out going door to door, you build a really good reputation for yourself, you make people really happy, you ask for referrals, you're gonna get referrals, you get a professional website made, you make sure you get tons of reviews on your Google listing, that will bring in sales. You get everybody at your company wearing shirts with your phone number, your website on them and stuff, that's gonna bring in new leads. And then all these things combined over time is going to bring in all the business you need, and it's going to have you diversified, so you're not relying completely on any one source. If one source goes bad, you've got 2 or 3 others to fall back on. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Again, I'll leave a link to this article in the description. If if you're interested in what my company can do for you, we offer all sorts of marketing services. We build websites, we maintain them, we do everything with Google. We could basically be your outsourced marketing and IT department, and we can handle all of that stuff for you. So if you're a growing company and you're thinking about hiring a marketer to come work in-house, I guarantee you we can do just as good, if not better, of a job for a 1/10 of the cost. So definitely hit me up. And if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I'm happy to help. I want all of you guys to be as successful as possible. I don't want you to fall into the trap of relying too heavily on these lead reselling companies and putting yourself in a bad spot. So definitely hit me up. Lastly, I have a free Facebook group. It's private, but anybody can join if you're interested in this kind of stuff, or if you want some one-on-one help. The group is still small enough that me and my team are in there. We'll answer any question you have. We'll do whatever it takes to help you get where you're trying to go. And that's all. So best of luck to you, and thanks for watching.